Oh, hello. Couldn't stop the music
Hi.
there. It was just,
I
hello,
was just
Fergie.
I was just jamming to the
Jamming.
music. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes an abrupt end, that music. When you
Yeah.
take it off.
There's no subtle like transition to it. It's just like, yep, that's it.
That's it, the end. No more
Yep.
hold music. Okay, so I thought we'd get started. I was just waiting a few more minutes for a few more to join us, but I'm sure if people haven't joined, they can watch on the catch up later. So we do have a couple of us on the call tonight, which is going to be lovely. I think we're just going to have some fun. We're going to try and understand a little bit more about you, Fergie, and how you've made a little bit of a name for yourself. So could I ask you to introduce yourself for those that don't know who you are?
Sure. I am Fergie. I work in UX UI. I've just recently been promoted to a mid-weight role, literally like on Friday. So woohoo. And I've been in the UX industry for like just nearly a year now. And I'm a streamer, I'm a gamer, I'm an activist, and an all-around trying to be a nice person.
I love that intro. Yeah, I mean, it's honest. I think it really sums you up. I would say that I've been following you, Fergie, for some time now, like on Twitter, and it's just like remarkable how you've crafted out like a space. It's like there was like a Fergie-sized hole that needed to be filled, and you're here and you're filling it.
Oh, thank you
It's
so
really
much.
nice.
That's so sweet.
No, it's awesome. So I know you from talking, you're very active in like the queer spaces on Twitter, the
Yeah.
UX UI spaces, all of it. And it's really great to see. And I guess for people that aren't familiar with who you are, I guess after this, they can follow you on Twitter, they can connect with you after this. But this session today is a short one, and I'd really like to understand a little bit more about some of your strengths. And it's sometimes, a lot of our students really struggle with building kind of personal brands. They don't know where to start. And obviously you've really made quite an impact in that space, and I'd just love to know more about it. So I guess one of my first questions is around, actually, let's start with who you are. Like, what's your heritage and how did you get started? Like, what makes you Fergie?
So I'm from Pakistan. I immigrated to the UK when I was 12 years old. So I've been in England since I was 12, and I've traveled around the world since I was a child. So I lived in Malaysia for 2 years as a child because my dad was studying. Both my parents are doctors. They wanted me to be a doctor as well, and I decided to disappoint them and not go down that road. I studied psychology in university because I love human behavior and I love understanding people and why. I love the question why. Like if you ask me to find out the why, that is what I love. So I studied psychology in university. I've worked in content creation. I've worked in media, social media strategy and marketing. Um, and then now recently I transitioned into the tech world and specifically the UX and UI world. So yeah, that's like literally my journey from childhood to moving here, immigrating here, and just existing in this space and in this world.
Okay, and how have you found the transition? Has it been easy? Has it been easy?
It wasn't easy at the beginning. So when I decided that I'm gonna go into the UX and UI world, I started my journey wanting to study front end development, and I wanted to be a front end engineer. And through I was doing a Code Academy course in front end development, and through that I was introduced to UX and UI. And the more I learned about UX and UI, I was like, oh my God, this goes so well with my degree in psychology. Why did I know about this whole industry that existed? Like, this would be perfect for me. Um, and so I really decided to dig deep into the UX and UI world. And when I started it and I finished, so I did a Google UX design course, which was really accessible to me at the time. I was unemployed. I didn't have enough money in my bank account. Um, I was petrified, and there isn't that much help for entry level or juniors in the tech world in general. Like even if you want to be a front end developer, entry level and juniors don't have that many resources. And then UX and UI is a very niche, very specific industry with like a small community, and I feel like the only people I knew was Love Circular at the time and Zara specifically, and he reached out to me and he gave me a lot of guidance and like he was like, "Oh, I'm happy to look at your portfolio and give you some feedback." And that was when everything changed for me because before then, not only did I feel very alone and just very isolated because I didn't know anyone in UX and UI, but also I was like, "Is this the right industry for me?" Because I'm not finding that many entry level or junior roles. Nobody's even giving me a call back for an interview. So am I like fooling myself into thinking that I can actually do this? And that was a whole journey and anxiety inducing. It's stressful in itself because I was like, oh my God, what if this isn't meant for me? Oh, so yeah, it wasn't great at first, but now that I've been in it nearly a year and I've like made so many contacts and I've done networking and I've spoken to people, my colleagues, and like people who've been in the UX and UI industry for like nearly a decade. They really helped me a lot, mix just in terms of making sense of it all, but also make me not feel as alone.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, isn't it? Just someone being there at the other end of, like, to
Precisely.
be able to get feedback is so important in those early stages. Zai's
Yeah.
really helpful in terms of that. He's so good at like facilitating, safe spaces where people can be their whole selves and like, be really vulnerable with, I'm nervous about this case study or this portfolio. Yeah,
And he did it, and
he
he did it so beautifully. I remember his words, like I would take those words with me for the rest of my life because he looked at my portfolio and he gave me really beautiful constructive feedback. There wasn't
Mhm,
anything in terms of, oh, this is shit, you need to do it all over again, because that's what some people can be like. And he was very
mhm,
constructive, and then he said that if you make these changes, it will take you really far. And at the end of it, he literally just gave me that reassurance, which was, you are meant to be part of this industry. You are meant to be
mhm,
in UX and UI, and you're going to have a very long, positive, healthy career in
mhm,
UX and UI. Don't doubt yourself. And when you hear that from someone who's been in the industry and who's doing the talks and putting in the work, you feel so reassured and just safe and secure, thinking, okay, someone that's been in the industry and isn't part of the industry believes in me. So I need to believe in me because I've got
Mhm.
somebody now who's, who's saying these beautifully positive things. And I
Mhm.
needed to hear it at that time. I really needed it. And
Mhm.
he gave it to me. So I was like, great.
Yeah, it's just finding that advocate though, some people
Yeah.
struggle to find that advocate. I mean, in Love Circular, we're quite fortunate. We've got, a number of instructors that are available to students that enroll. So you have that kind of relationship. But I think for those that aren't in the community, it's quite difficult. So let me
Yeah.
move on, Fergie, quickly. I noticed when I was doing a bit of research on you that you've got two Twitter accounts.
Yes.
So, can you tell us a little bit about why you have two Twitter accounts? And does that help with your whole personal brand?
It does. So for me specifically, I am a person of variety. I am very much
Mhm.
interested in a whole range of different things. And initially, my personal Twitter account, which is Fergie Official, was going to be my tech Twitter account, and that's where I was talking about UX and UI. And I was like, no, I need to, for my sake and sanity and just the structure of everything, separate the two things. There is me, Fergie, a human being who is into
Mhm.
a wide range of things, and then there's me and my professional route of UX and UI, um, that is separate and purely to do with UX and UI. It has very little to anything to do with my other side of life. I don't mention the fact that I'm a streamer. I don't mention the fact that I'm a gamer.
Mhm.
I don't talk about movies. I don't like talk about politics on my UX and UI professional account. Um, no, that's actually incorrect. I do talk about politics because politics is really important. And that, let me backtrack that before somebody finds my UX UI tweets and be like, no, you do talk about. So yeah, I think for me, and I would suggest it to everyone that if you can separate the two, because you don't want to mix the two together, especially when you're, posting pictures of you on a night out having fun, and then somebody's like, what does UX and UI mean? And you're just not in the mood to be talking about that on your personal account. And I've had a bunch of people reach out to me on my inbox regarding UX and UI and just finding information and
Mhm.
stuff. And keeping that separate from my personal account has just helped mentally a lot. Um, so yeah, for me, it's the best thing I've done, keeping those two things separate.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. It wasn't to catch you out; it was just more like why
No,
you
it's all
why you.
right.
um,
Yeah,
uh, so okay, I guess let's move it on to. We get often asked, what does a UX design midweight consultant get involved in? What are the types of activities, tasks that you might get involved in at
yeah.
present?
Oh, for me, when
Yeah.
I was being promoted to midweight, I said specifically these are the things that I want to do as a midweight. One of which was to mentor a junior, because I had that when I was the junior. I had somebody who was mentoring me and giving me all the feedback. And then another thing was I wanted to do a lot of presentations. So I wanted to take lead on a lot of projects and give the presentations to the wider teammates. So that includes the front end developers, that includes the product and project managers, that could include marketing, that could include the sales team. So I want to talk to them about what we're doing and why we've gone down the design route that we've gone down. Um, and pretty much just take more responsibility and just take more ownership of doing design work. I think as a junior, you're not supposed to, and that's fine because you're a junior, you're still learning. But when you get midweight, you there's a level of accountability and autonomy that you get. That is something that I really wanted, and I was like, yeah. So as a midweight, these are specific things that I want to do and achieve. So I'm really looking forward to it. I do get a junior. They start on the 18th of July, so I'm really excited for that.
Fantastic. And are you feeling prepared to onboard this junior? Do you feel like ready
Yeah.
to mentor
Yes.
and bring
Yes,
them
because I'm not going
through?
to be. It's the way our department works. Even though the junior is going to be working under me directly, um, we're very much all of us are very hands on and involved. So people from
Mhm.
other seniors and other midweights are very heavily involved. The head of the department is very heavily involved. So I won't necessarily feel as alone or petrified of, oh my god, did I onboard them correctly? Because everyone else is going to be there anyways to answer questions. Um, so yeah, I'm prepared. I'm excited for a new, fresh face and new ideas and new perspective. They might see things that in a way that I don't, and that's always exciting.
Okay, and for those that are on the call and maybe they've been, in role or want to know, how do you know that you're at mid-level weight? Is there like a day where you wake up and you're like, I feel ready to take that next step or to move up the ladder? How do
That
you
is
know
a
when you're no longer a junior?
but so for me, um, it was I got more responsibility at work. The more responsibility I got, the more I was like, okay, I'm happy to take this responsibility on because I know I can do it and I'm badass. My paycheck and my title needs to match the fact that I've got more responsibilities. So it was very much of a conversation that I had with the head of the department, which was like, hey, I've been doing this work for the past couple of months and I've been taking a lot of lead and taking projects on by myself as a solo designer, obviously with the help of seniors who are there, but they don't micromanage me and they're not always in a call with me. I do it all by myself, and I've been very successful in it. So it's time. Let's talk about my promotion. I think I've reached that point where I'm doing the work. Might as well get. I need to get paid for it. My title needs to change, and they were very much like, "We completely agree with you. So let's do it." And then one of the great things about my head of the department at the time was that when I was interviewing for my junior role, he specifically said that he doesn't like to keep juniors in the junior for long. He gives them responsibilities and he gives them mentorship that they need to move on and get promoted really quickly. Because he just believes that the more you give people chances, the more they're going to do it. So that was a really wonderful thing. It worked out really well for me because he gave me a lot of responsibility and I took it and I was like, okay.
Well, that's interesting, Fergie, because we had a live session a couple of weeks ago with head of design over at KPMG, and he
Mm-hmm.
was just like, responsibility isn't given; it's often taken. Like where you have to kind of like carve out, like taking the lead on some of these things and not waiting to be given it.
I
Do you
can
feel like you
ooh,
took
that
some
is
responsibility?
That's very interesting because I think while I agree with it somewhat that you
Mm,
go and you take responsibility, there has to be a level of respect and understanding that the person that's giving you the responsibility isn't going to micromanage you, right? I can go around and be like, hey, give me the responsibility. I can take it. But then every single day they're micromanaging me and they're checking up on me and they're hovering over my shoulder. That's not going to work. You have to be able to
mm,
trust the person that you're giving responsibility to, that they can handle it, that they can do it. And you also have to go to like when I asked for responsibility, yes, I said to them, yeah, I can do this. Like, okay, cool, I'll take it. Um, there was a level of understanding from my end and from the seniors end that I can go to them at any point if I feel overwhelmed or if I don't understand something or if I don't have the questions, and I won't get penalized for it or I won't get made feel like, oh, I don't know anything, right? So for me it was very much like, yeah, I'm happy to take these responsibilities on and take these projects on, but I also need to know that there is a level of support and there's a level of backup whenever I need it. And I might not need it. I might be completely solo on this whole project and be successful. But there's a possibility that I might need it at some point, and I need to know that there's going to be that level of support available. So yes, I would say to people, if you are ready for responsibility and you think that you can handle it, demand it. Go there and say to them that I'm ready to take the next step, whatever next step that is, whether that's going solo on projects, whether that's presenting, whatsoever, because the more you expose yourself to these things, the better they will be for you and like help you grow in your UX UI career. But at the same time, no, ask for support. There is no shame in asking for support. Even the seniors who have been working for 10 years ask for support. It doesn't make you any less great at your role. It doesn't make you any less knowledgeable. Always, always, always in this industry, ask for support whenever you want it.
Okay, I think it's great to hear you because it sounds like you're just relishing this opportunity to step up
Yeah.
and get to the next level. So yeah, that's great to hear. So I just want to reach out to the audience, those that are watching. If you've got any questions for Fergie, please stick them in the comments. We'd love to see what you have to say, what thoughts you have. If you've got any questions about, how did Fergie actually transition, anything about the courses he studied. I actually didn't ask you pronouns, Fergie. What are your pronouns?
I don't actually have any pronoun preference, so
Okay.
anyone if
Okay.
as long as you're not calling me a bad word, I'm cool.
Okay, cool. But yeah, if anyone's got any questions, please throw them in. I guess my other question is, you referred to the Google accreditation or Google course.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that to others? How much was it? How long were you on that course?
So the course runs for, they say that if you put in 10 hours a week, you can do it and you can finish off the course in 6 months. And
Okay.
at the time that I was doing it, it was £27 a month. So for me, it was very accessible in that way. And because I was at the time unemployed, I knew that I could put more than 10 hours a week into the course. I recommend it to people who are curious to know about UX and UI and who don't have the funds or need something that's far more accessible than the other courses that are out there. It really helped, but there is a lack of community. So if you need somebody to talk to, or if you need somebody who to guide you on the and all of that jazz, that isn't available in the UX design course. It is very isolating. Um,
Mhm,
so if you need an accountability buddy, you might not necessarily find that from that course. But in terms of accessibility and just if you are low on funds, that is a really good
mhm,
option to know about the entry level, like the junior level stuff about UX and UI.
mhm,
You won't always get everything from that course, and there's always going to be training. I'm midweight and I'm still doing training and learning new
mhm.
things every single day. Um, but you learn a base general level of UX and UI knowledge. That really helps.
Okay. Okay. It sounds pretty similar to our product design course that we have, which is I think
Yeah,
£29 a month. It's probably quite similar, but with the community aspect.
yeah.
I just was interested to know how that setup was. Okay, and we do have a question that's coming from Naomi, which is, do you have a UX UI Instagram page? If not, why did you choose Twitter over Instagram? Which is a great question.
Ooh, that is a very cool, good question.
Yeah.
Instagram is a dying social media app. It is abysmal to say the least. Instagram, I used to be really into Instagram, but Instagram changed their content from, pictures to video. So that takes a lot of time and energy, whereas a tweet is a really less than 10 seconds and I can send out a great tweet. And I feel like Twitter has a bigger tech community in general, whether you
Mhm,
want to be um, a developer, you want to be a product manager, all that jazz. So Twitter just seemed like a place where I could make professional networking contacts that wasn't LinkedIn, because LinkedIn it's a bit wild. I'm not a fan of LinkedIn. People are crazy over there. Um, so Twitter is a little bit of, there's a mixture of casualness as well as professionalism that I love. And I think Twitter is far more accessible now than Instagram or LinkedIn. So that's why I picked Twitter and went with it. And like my community over there on Twitter is like so great. Whereas I feel like Instagram, there's no guarantee it's going to reach the people that it needs to reach. There's a lot of troll accounts on Instagram. I get notifications that I want an iPhone every single day, and I don't have my iPhone. So
mhm. I feel you on that. It's very loud. There's a lot going on. It
precisely,
seems like, yeah, but for some people it works, and so I've seen quite a few
yeah,
kind of UX UI design accounts where people really invest the time. They look incredible.
yeah. If you've got
Which
the time and the resources to like film videos and post them on Instagram, then that would work really well for you, because Instagram is very much of a visual video content app now. But I
Mhm,
just like tweeting. I think tweeting and just writing stuff is more accessible than
mhm.
videos.
Okay, and I'm going to quickly move you on, Fergie, to another question from Naomi, which is also, what were your favorite resources when starting out? Was it YouTube channels, Twitter pages, Twitter Spaces? Was it Clubhouse? Like, what was it? What were some of the,
So one is
resources?
YouTube. YouTube is a great, great, great place to learn about all kinds of things. The Google UX design course that I did, and in my job right now, we use Figma a lot. And Figma, learning about Figma really helped through YouTube, because obviously all the information on YouTube is free. You don't have to pay for it. Um, and then articles. I'm very much of a reader. and it really helps me to understand. Like, I like reading. When I was starting off, I loved reading UX versus UI. What are the differences? Because like it can be very confusing if you're starting off what the differences between UX and UI. So those kind of articles about research methods. I have a psychology background and psychology degree, and the research that we did in psychology is a bit different to how we do research in UX. There is a level of similarities there, which can work great for me, but then also knowing and understanding the differences. So just reading articles, watching YouTube videos, those were the best things. Twitter is best for networking and understanding um nuances. So like if anyone wants to talk about anything accessibility wise I want to learn specifically, or anything that's new and upcoming, I go to Twitter because that's where it gets announced the most. Um and then I do my more research on it via YouTube or article reading.
Mhm. And just quickly following on from that, Fergie, do you have like accounts on like Behance or any of the freelancer websites, or do you stay clear from that?
So I made accounts on Behance because at the beginning of my career, because there's a possibility that you might not find an entry in junior level, so you might go down the freelance route. So you need accounts like Dribble, you need accounts in Behance, just to showcase your work and your portfolio. I haven't used it ever since I made the account because it just, for me as a junior, I wasn't where I needed to be to have an account in Behance and Dribble. And for me, in order to work freelance, I needed to have more experience, understanding and knowing what I'm talking about, if that makes any sense. I didn't feel comfortable taking on a job where I felt like I don't 100% understand what I'm talking about. So how can I then explain it to somebody else that why am I doing the way I'm doing things and all of that jazz? So I have accounts there, don't use them.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
have
Yeah.
upload your stuff on Behance and Dribble. Anything that you do, upload it there because it will really help you.
Okay. Help you in terms of getting found by employers or to
Yes.
showcase
So
your
when
work.
you're applying for jobs and stuff, there's always a section where you apply when you put your portfolio, and then there's always a section where you can upload your Dribble and Behance stuff on there.
Okay.
So it just may, and then you never know who's watching. You legit don't know
That's
who's
true.
watching. So you could be uploading your stuff, and one person reaches out to you and says, "Hey, I have a project, 6-month project. Your work seems to be very much aligned with what I want to do. Let's talk."
Good point. More links, the better, being, across so
Precisely.
many different platforms. Gives you better
Precisely.
chances. And backlinks. Okay, cool. So Naomi, I hope I've said that right. Naomi has said, "Hi Fergie, thank you so much for this session. What is your best tip for someone who is trying to understand what the branding statement is?"
That is a really good question. Authenticity. I think the more you know about yourself, the more and better you are about telling. You can explain it better to other people about yourself. I am very much about vulnerability. I am not a person that's binary, and I'm not I'm not going to be the same person that I am today next year, and I'm not going to be the same person that I am today 5 years down the line. And to know that about yourself is really important. But there are values about me and in my life that carry with me throughout my lifetime, and those are never going to change. So as long as you're authentically yourself, whether and understand that you are not a perfect human being who is just these four things, the easier it becomes for you to be able to explain and have a branding. There's a level of adaptability and versatility. You know what I mean? Adaptability in
Versatility.
that's the word. My mouth was like, "Well, we're
Versatility.
not about to say that word." There's a level of authenticity in being vulnerable, and there's a level of authenticity in being like, "Yeah, I don't know everything. I don't know everything." Um, and there's beauty in that because I'm very curious to know and learn and like constantly gain information and talk to people and understand their perspectives. So yeah, as long as you know yourself, and you can take as much time, there is literally no pressure. And if you don't know yourself right now, that's a perfect opportunity to go find out about yourself. Like, do things that bring you joy, and like l- start a journal if you want to, and like write down your thoughts about what makes you tick, what is really important to you, what brings you joy, what are the things that you stand up for. Those kind of things people want to know about. and they
Mhm.
connect to more. Whereas if you're just generic and just giving out like, oh yeah, I'm all about equality, what does that even mean? The word equality doesn't even mean anything
Mhm.
nowadays. You have to be very, very specific about your intentions and your thoughts and your
Mhm.
values. Yeah, don't be generic, don't be just giving out vague, generic, ambiguous terms, because they don't really
Mhm.
mean anything and people don't connect to them as much. Be put And also actions. Just don't just say things. If you're going to say things, make sure that there's actions to back it up, because that
Mhm.
that really solidifies your branding and what you're about.
I agree with that, Fergie, 100%. I think, the life's too short to be generic. You got one
Precisely.
one shot, one
You're
shot. What
your
do you stand
you're
for?
unique. Be yourself. Like if
Hmm.
you like heavy metal music and like death metal music, be proud of it.
Hmm.
Be all about that. It's
Hmm.
not for me, but someone out there is gonna love it.
Uh-huh. 100%. Okay, so Lois has asked any advice on finding a community to help give feedback on work. You obviously touched upon this earlier, Fergie. So
Yeah.
obviously that must have come from that. So do you have any communities that you can suggest that you can
Twitter is
get
a great
feedback
place.
from?
Twitter is a great place. There's a bunch of people who are very much happy and looking forward to give
Mhm.
feedback to your work. Um, Love
Is there a
Circular.
sorry, Fergie, is there a hashtag to use in order to leverage some of that energy?
Yeah, so hashtag UX UI, hashtag designer, hashtag UX designer. I'd use
Mhm.
all of the hashtags that there are. And then also you can search for accounts that specifically work in the UX and UI and follow them. Because once you follow them, Twitter algorithm realizes the fact that you're really interested in UX and UI. So not only will they recommend you UX and UI accounts, but they will recommend you tweets from people around the world who are talking about UX and UI. So you want to this was another reason why I made two different accounts, which one was personal and one was UX and UI, because my Twitter name for my tech account is UX UI. My profile summary on my UX UI account has a lot of UX UI mentioned. I follow majority UX UI accounts and people who
Mhm.
work in UX UI industries. So my professional Twitter account knows that I'm in the UX UI industry and I really am interested in it. So any tweets that come from random accounts are about UX UI. People retweet stuff of UX and UI, and then a lot of people add you into networks. So you can create networks in Twitter, and then people can add you in those, so you can find even more profiles
Mhm.
there. So it's really, really just focusing tunnel vision about UX and UI. So if you want feedback, add your feedback, like add your prototypes onto Twitter pictures and stuff, and be like, hey, I've created this and I would love feedback. And I definitely
Mhm.
give feedback a lot to people I don't know and I've never spoken to before, because giving feedback is great. I love it. I love seeing designs. I love understanding why people went down the route that they did for the designs. And then for me, accessibility is a huge, huge thing. And I want to make sure that people who create prototypes and create designs are thinking accessibility first, and they're putting accessible designs out there. And the more we normalize it, the better it is.
Mhm. Okay, thanks for that, Fergie. I'll quickly move on. I know that you mentioned Love Circular as a community too, which is absolutely a
Yes.
thing. Tag Love Circular into tweets, at the organization, and we'll try and retweet it and give you
And
feedback.
I just want to add to that is that got I started off in UX and UI, and Love Circular helped me out a lot in terms of giving me feedback and also introducing me to a lot of other great people who are starting off their journeys in UX and UI. So that is another reason why I always, always, always big up Love Circular, because you need that level of community. You need that level of mentorship and just knowing that there's people out there who are in the same journey as you, so you don't feel alone. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Beck, this is the final question before we wrap up, which is what's the hardest thing about UX work day to day?
So, and this is a beautiful question, by the way. Thank you for asking that. It's no longer hard for me, but it used to be very hard when I started off, and it was extremely difficult because I'm a perfectionist, right? I have a really bad habit of being a perfectionist, and you won't always have the answers, and answers take time. And for me, whenever I was presenting designs, or whenever someone from the product team or someone from the development team asked for UX input and they asked me for a UX opinion, I used to feel horrible about the fact that I don't have an answer for them right there and then, that I don't have the solution for them right there and then. It used to make my imposter syndrome go so bad. I used to think, oh my God, I don't belong here because clearly I don't know anything, because I can't give them an answer. I can't give them a solution right there and right now. And there's a beauty in that. There is you. I always, and this is something that I've learned, and this is something that I'm gonna hope that other people carry, which is, I'll always say to them, "Good question. I'll get back to you on that." And that is like the most perfect, beautiful thing that I can do right now. It used to be very hard, and I used to hate it. I used to internalize the fact that I can't have an answer for them, and that used to be day in, day out. You get product teams, you get product managers coming to you with a UX question. You've got marketing coming to you with a UX question. You've got front end developers coming to you with a UX question. And if you don't have an answer, you legit feel so crappy about yourself and about your skill set. You won't always have the answer, and answers take time. And that's something that I've learned now. And I relish in the fact that I don't have the answer right now. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what you want me to do about this. I need to go research and like find out more. So I'll get back to you. And then they're like, okay. And I'm like, cool.
I think that's a well-rounded answer, to be honest, because I think
Yeah,
most of the time people will forget that they've even asked the question, or it prompts you to go and find the gap in your knowledge. So if you don't know the
precisely.
answer, it's like, I
Precisely.
didn't know that, so I'm going to
Yeah,
go find the answer.
precisely. I haven't been in this industry for long, and a lot of the times, accessibility wise, I'm still learning things. So when somebody asks me a question and I'm just like, okay, I don't know the answer to that, let me go do my research, and I find out, and then I find out so many cool things about from that research, and like I develop my knowledge, and then I go back to them with the solution, and I can explain it to them in the most beautiful way and the most thorough way about what I found out, what I've learned, and why this is the design route that we should take. Whereas if I instantly said to them, oh, do this, like if the first thing that comes to my mind and I tell them to do this, that's not necessarily the best solution for what you need. There's always a better solution out there if you do your research, because people are always evolving and adapting their designs. We're learning new things every single day in this industry. So there's always going to be something that you can learn and gain knowledge from. So it's okay to say to someone, I don't know the answer to this right now. I'm going to go do my research and come back to you. There's absolutely no shame. Seniors do this all the time, and I learned it from them. So I just do it now.
All right, thank you, Fergie. I don't want to spoil our Q&A by wrapping this up, but if people have questions or if they want to contact you after this session, how is the best way that they get in touch?
So I have two. I'm very much available on Twitter all the time. I get back to people on Twitter the best way. So you can reach out to me on my personal Twitter, which is Fergie Official, and then you can reach out to my professional tech Twitter, which is Fergie Codes UX UI. And you can either DM me there with a question, or you can tweet it at me directly, and I'm more than happy to answer any and all questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Fergie, for your time this evening. Thank you, everyone that's joined us and asked a question. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you again soon for another live session. And Fergie, maybe
100%.
once you're in the role, maybe you could come back and tell us some horror stories about, what's happened that didn't go to plan and how you overcame them. That would be great.
I'll try my best to come up with some very horrific stories. But thank you so much for having me. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure. I loved it.
Hopefully there's no horrific stories.
Hopefully not. Let's not jinx it. Touch wood.
Exactly. But yeah, I'll see you soon, Fergie. Thank you so much again, and we'll catch you for another session.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.